welcome to episode number 68 of the Comic Watchers Show. I'm your host, Matt Meyer. With me, as always, our fellow watchers, Nicholas Osborne and Mike Eakins. Gentlemen, say hello. How are we doing this week?
Nick, you go first. I'll go second.
I'm first. I'm doing good now. That's pretty awesome. Nah, it's all right out here. It's really rainy and gross and not here for it.
I got you.
Well, other than that, coastal Virginia, we have rebuilt from our quarter-inch of snow.
Man.
It was rough. We had FEMA out here. Insurance has been claimed. We'll get better. We're strong out here. We're good.
I know you are.
Bunch.
Y'all got this.
We're good.
So this week, we are going to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier #1 from Marvel and Justice League Dark #20 from DC. Hooah! But first, as ever, we've got the news with Scoop Johnson.
Oh, big scoop. Okay. Let's do something different. We always start off with Marvel. Let's start off with some image. Start with some image news and something that I, as a teenage, even as an adult, Scoop is really excited to talk about. Savage Dragon 250. Man, oh man, let's talk about Savage Dragon 250. It's been about 15 years since we've gotten a Savage Dragon book, but you know what? Eric's been busy. So I'm patient. So we'll wait for this one. Covers by Scotty Young and Rob Liefeld, two of Cody's favorite artists. He is sure to definitely pick up multiple copies. But no, in all seriousness, though, Savage Dragon 250 is coming out. Scotty Young and Rob Liefeld are doing covers. They're really, really interesting and really, really good. Obviously, two artists that you could probably, take or leave, doesn't matter. But they're really good, and I am really stoked on Savage Dragon 250. Moving up to DC, talking about some Art Germ and Punchline, originally stated for Batman 94 was the big Art Germ Punchline cover, but due to an overwhelming reception to Batman, 89, and all of the second printings, they have decided to move it up. So now Art Germ's Punchline cover is going to be Batman 92 and not 94. It's really good. We have that on the website. Art Germ, on a personal note, one of my favorites. I find myself, even if I don't read an Art Germ book that he has done, I just kind of give it the Alex Ross treatment because two of my favorite, Boris Vihilo, Ross, Art Germ, stuff like that. I find myself just kind of flocking to it. So make sure you go to your local LCS. Make sure you're putting in your orders for that. Definitely going to be a very popular book. Moving on to Marvel news, Empire 1 cover is on the website. Valerio Schiti joined the Alliance, the Skrull cover, right? We're talking about the Avengers atrocities. So this cover is kind of like a Skrull exactly, Matt, right? Like join the Skrulls, right? It's a very Skrull influential cover. It's almost like a recruiting cover.
It's propaganda.
Yeah, exactly, right? The propaganda machine rolls on. But this is really cool. On a personal note, I'm not really digging the whole Empire thing, but I may pick up this cover just because I like Skrulls and stuff like that. That's on the website. Check it out. Immortal Hulk 33, and for you kids, that is legacy number 750. Legacy numbering, boo, hiss. But however, Hulk has finally got to 750, and we are getting variants from Steve Scroce and Dave Stewart on colors. For those of our watchers, anyone, if you have not been reading Immortal Hulk, I cannot recommend this book enough. Al Ewing has completely taken Hulk into a different direction and just has made this book a very just awesome read. I mean, nothing is wrong with this book on the writing format, and it's just really great. Some really good covers, really good. What's that?
Oh, I was just going to throw out a little endorsement out there for old school watchers that might be on the fence. As a lifelong Peter David Hulk adherent, I will say this is without a doubt the best Hulk since Peter David's run. And I mean, that's no disrespect to any of the other phenomenal creators that have worked on the Hulk in the subsequent 23 years since David's run ended. But this is what you want a Hulk book. Yeah. Flat out. It's a classic in the making.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, not to get too far off kilt bit here, but just real quick, I mean, and to kind of piggyback what Matt was saying, I mean, this is the stuff that you talk about 10, 15 years from now going, wow, like this was some good stuff. And this is like how I look at like earlier Spawn and, McFarlane Spawn and Larson Spider-Man and McFarlane Spider-Man. This is how like the younger cats are going to look at Ewing's Immortal Hulk. Definitely. I really do think this is that good a book and that big a book. But either way, other than that, Marvel stopped legacy numbering, but that's a personal thing, and I'm either way, Immortal Hulk 33/Hulk 750. That's on the website. Make sure you check that out. And as always, make sure you're ordering that through your LCS, right? You want to support your LCS.
Hold on. I want to go back real quick. They've stopped putting legacy numbering on their books.
I know. I want them to stop putting legacy numbering. I want them to go back.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, legacy numbering.
Back. Okay.
Yeah,
I was about to call BS on Marvel.
Yeah. No, that was me. Kind of oopsie. We can't really punctuate what we talk, but no, I am not a fan of the legacy numbering. And
that is a whole episode complaining about renumbering at Marvel.
and by the way, fellow
Nobody
watchers,
wants to hear that.
And watchers, if you want an episode full of us blabbering about how we don't like legacy numbering, let us know. Facebook, Twitter, email. We're here. We're here for you guys. All right. Moving on. Giant Size X-Men, a tribute to Lin Wayne and Dave Cockrum, is celebrating this seminal book that everyone knows and loves. It's kind of Giant Size X-Men for me is kind of like Frampton Comes Alive. I think you were literally issued it, right? You may not dig it, but you may not read it, but you were issued it at some point in time in your life. So that's what Giant Size X-Men is. But they are coming out with an anniversary issue, and it is a who's who of art from Alex Ross to Chris Samney to Keshi Miyazawa, R.B. Silva, many, many others. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm going to direct you to comic-watch.com to get a full list of the amazing talent that is on this book. Lynn is writing it, and it is literally the list of artists that is on this book is I mean, if you're not impressed, I mean, do you really read comics and stuff? Because really the list of artists is just really remarkable, and they're doing a really good job on this book. So definitely something you would want to pick up. And obviously, I'm going to direct you to the website, comic-watch.com, for your first looks and your sneak peeks and everything that we are doing on here. There's too much content to go on through the news. But that is it. Unless you see something off the Twitter that is breaking, I don't see anything because I got it over here. Yeah.
If you just recently, Todd McFarlane posted on his social media everywhere every time that he drew Spawn and Spider-Man together after all this time, like really cool. You got to check that out. Just had to plug that.
yeah, that is that very good, and that's actually I replaced that, surprise on my phone, which was a Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Jenica, of course. That is now Spawn and Spider-Man, so that's pretty good. But yeah, gentlemen, anything else from the world of news, the world of Twitter, anything?
No. I feel like it might be time to do a quick check-in and the week in Liefeld. And let us know what's going on with the Rob Father this week.
We are going to be so quick that Ross is going to approve of this segment. Okay. So real quick, and obviously, as we say every single week, we are fans of the Rob Father, and this is a complete and utter totally respect of him. On his Twitter feed, there is a video that someone, and I wish I would have noted the website, but either way, yeah, if you go on his Twitter, you're bound to see it. It's all over there. This guy over in England has made a video. It's about 23 minutes of why you are, and essentially why you are wrong on Rob Liefeld, and compares him a little bit to Kurt Cobain. But I'm not going to get into that because I actually like Rob Liefeld more than I like Kurt Cobain. But what we're going to talk about ever so briefly is the fact that he goes through a list of people that were self-taught, much like Rob was, and who we hold on a higher pedestal, right? Like Lee, McFarlane, just to name a few real quick. And then he goes into a really good segment, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, of comparing Liefeld's pouches and feet and, maybe his, body anatomy and stuff like that to what Kirby was doing back in Kirby's heyday. And at first, as I was watching this on my lunch break earlier today, I was kind of like, oh, you comparing Kirby to Liefeld, that's like what are you doing? But I put bias aside for a second, and then as they were going through Kirby's, I don't want to say inconsistencies, but Kirby's, niches and stuff like that, I could kind of see the comparison, and only for that, just because of the quirks, maybe. And I'm in no way comparing Kirby to Liefeld. Obviously, that's not even, they're not even in the same month. I get that, and I'm no way am I doing that. But I really understand the angle that he was coming from, as artists have their own quirks and quibbles, and you could really, other artists get known for their, like, you could pick out a Olivia Quibell Wolverine, you could pick out a Bashima Wolverine, you could pick out a Sam Keith Wolverine, just like that, right? Just like that, no question about it. You can pick out a Wolverine from Liefeld. You could pick out a Liefeld. You could pick out a Kirby Captain America. You could pick out a Liefeld Captain America, just like that. So it kind of got me thinking, like, maybe this guy is onto something. Maybe that just the anti-Liefeld is just kind of the thing of the moment. Maybe we kind of take a step back a little bit. Now, I'm not saying everything that Rob does is phenomenal, right? But at the same time, I think we miss the fact that we see stuff by Lee, by Kirby, by Quipel, Bashima, and we're like, oh, this is really good. But then we see stuff by Liefeld, like, oh, here's the pouches. Oh, here's the feet. And I think that's what he was really trying to get at in this video. But it was good. I think it's definitely worth 23 minutes. I think it runs just under 24. I think it's worth 23 minutes of your time. And I think he really makes some good points. And I know I champion the Rob Father as a fan, but this video is worth watching. It really, really is. And so I could end on this note, that any of the watchers, please, on Twitter, on Facebook, anytime, especially when you see this video get posted, if you watch the video, and only if you watch the video, I would really be interested in an honest conversation of what you thought about the video. Even if you're not a fan of Rob's, even if you're not a fan of how he does things, even today, if you watch the video, really interested to hear some constructive criticism on the video itself.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for your salient as ever analysis, Mike, on all things Liefeld. So, all right, well, that's it for the news this week. We are going to just jump right in and talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier number 1 of 5 from Marvel. It is written by Derek Landy, art by Federico Vicentini. Excuse me if I mispronounced that, and colors by Matt Mila. So this story starts off with somebody trying to kill Winter Soldier, which is never a great idea. He goes to check in with his government handlers, finds all of them dead. Never, also not good. Then he meets up with the Falcon, who is on the search for a missing woman from a community program that he champions. And together they get wrapped up, and Hydra comes on into the scene, and all of a sudden our heroes are working together and kicking butt and getting their butts kicked by a very polite young man named The Natural.
The Natural.
More on him to come. But I excuse me. Nick, what did you think about this series? Let's start there.
Yeah, it was okay. Here's the thing. This is an issue that I think we all know why it came about. There's massive popularity with these characters. I think Marvel's just tapping into that vein that was already established cinematically. And this book feels like the movies. And I think that was ultimately good and bad, but I don't think it's enough to pull me back in for more. It feels like Captain America Winter Soldier. It establishes a lot of those same aesthetics and character dynamics and a lot of the same emotional beats as well. But once you get that tension built up in this whodunit drama that's super deadly and all of this, then you kind of dial back a little bit with The Natural. That one was a miss for me. I thought that was it kind of killed a lot of the tension for me and a lot of the danger and intrigue surrounding this story. And I thought, well, that's probably why I'm not going to come back for the second issue. And I'm a fan of these characters. I think like the artwork is great. I love the aesthetic they pulled with this. It reminds me a little bit of what you see with a lot done with Miles Morales work. So that was really cool. But it wasn't, it just felt too much like it was derivative of the movies that we've seen. And this is kind of not the approach that I want to see from Marvel Comics. And I felt like, this is the side of Marvel that I don't really engage with a lot. The show, kind of helps broaden the approach and read a lot. And that's kind of what I love about it. But this thing, it has good stuff going for it. I think anybody who's a fan of these characters are going to just, pretty much eat it up because they're looking for any other content they can. But I don't know if I'll be back for the second issue.
To your point, and I'll just make this quick, and let me just get my biting cynicism out of the way first. Let's be honest, this book exists because Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV show, is coming up soon on Disney Plus, and they want to make sure that IP is in the public consciousness as we move forward towards the launch of that show. And like you said, this is definitely a side of Marvel that is a lot more marketing driven. And like you said, I engage with this side of Marvel a lot less. Yeah, we fully agree on that. But we'll get back to my thoughts here in a second. Mike, what about you? How did you feel about this one?
To piggyback on what you guys, I mean, this is kind of out of my spectrum. I will definitely agree. Like, we only got this book solely because of what's of the show, right? I mean, if the show wasn't happening, we wouldn't have this book. However, I kind of compare this book to building your own vanilla sundae, right? You're going to start with vanilla ice cream and in hopes that you're going to get all these really cool toppings, but you're not going to get the toppings until right before you pay. And then it's just all kind of like, like, what is this type of deal? But overall, I think what sold me on this book and what's going to hook me, if anything, I'm going to buy issue 2 just to support my LCS. I really enjoyed the colors in this book. The art for me was kind of selling more so than the story. It was kind of bland up until the natural happened. By the way, looks nothing like Robert Redford. You know, if you get that joke, by the way, you know. Anyway, but
that was a good dad joke.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, for me, the book really picked up when the natural kind of came in, and you got some good fight scenes going on. But it was your basic, you know, spy, Marvel, Hail Hydra type of thing. You know, I understand why we went with the Hydra theme. It was in the neighborhood. It just wasn't the right house, you know, if that makes sense, you know. But overall, it wasn't a bad book, and please, for, you know, our watchers that are fans of this type of you know, type of book, or, you know, Falcon fans and Bucky fans, I'm not, you know, negging this book. It just, I think it was really vanilla up until the latter half, and then by the time you really got into this book, it was the end of the book. And for me, like I said, I'm hooked in barely just enough that I'm going to go into issue 2, if only just to support, once again, my local LCS. I'm going to buy issue 2 just to check it out. But yeah, like I said, for me, the art and the colors really stood out more than the story, because I just felt the story was, I've read this before, I've seen this, and it was just kind of like, you know,
it's a little by the numbers.
Yeah, it really.
Oh, there's Hydra stuff happening again. Okay.
Right. Yeah, paint by the numbers. Exactly. And I was like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Not horrible though. Definitely not horrible.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, the plot of this book is fairly boilerplate. It's not badly executed by anything, by any stretch of the imagination. I think that Derek Landy and Federico Vicentini are actually pretty well attuned to each other. Absolutely. Like, all of the action beats hit really well, and they're paced well. Like, the book knows when to slow down and breathe and create an atmosphere. Like when, great moment, by the way, when Falcon kind of cautiously asks Bucky amidst all of this giant murder scene, like, you didn't do this, did you?
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
You know, Bucky's kind of offended, but he also kind of gets it. And it's just a good little character moment that lets that scene breathe in such a way that, you know, we kind of get how these characters relate to one another. They've both been sidekicks of Captain America. They've both been Captain America. There's a lot of history there. And Landy is very wise to subtly play that up by just in the way that these characters play off of one another. And that's one thing that I really did like up and watching them go, for lack of a better term, because they are strong characters, you know? Like, there's no reason in my mind that we shouldn't always have a Falcon and always have a Winter Soldier book going. You know, these characters are just way too strong for that. And I mean, you know, I feel like Marvel kind of gave up on Falcon after he stopped being Captain America. Like, they gave him a token miniseries that nobody bought, and I mean, maybe it was really great. I don't know, but I mean, you just didn't hear anything about it at all.
Yeah. Points for you using the term token, by the way.
Oh, well, maybe I should have picked. Okay. The book itself, the comic book, not the character, is, okay, yeah, y'all. Well, that's the end of this episode. No.
If we can, let's talk about Winter Soldier.
We might be back. Oh,
maybe we gotta talk about Winter Soldier. I'm way more interested in the fluffy white kitty that Bucky keeps up in his jacket. Like, I would much rather talk about that side, and I think that's the side of the characters I want to see more of, because you don't see that in the movies.
Yeah, him and the cat was priceless, by the way.
You know, and I think like that's more of what I wanted to see from this book. And I think every time that this cat showed up in the panel, I was like, there it is. You know, and it was such an odd, it was adorable. But
I love that. I love that moment where Bucky says they tried to kill my cat and me. Like that's just funny, and that's something you can hear him saying. But like the general plot, I guess there's a civil war brewing within two different factions of Hydra, with Baron Zemo being supposedly dead right now, which he'll be back next month, I'm sure. And one of the leaders of one of the factions is a Baron Zemo adherent. The other is a hot newcomer. And into this fray comes the Natural to dispatch, who is the person who killed all the people. And he proudly admits it. And he's like he's like if Ned Flanders was teenaged and a murderer.
Okay.
I mean, okay. I can't think of a better. And he just proceeds to beat the crap. This kid proceeds to beat the crap out of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I just loved that. Like, it's so unexpected.
So all I can see, and not to go off rail, Ross, but all I can see is just Ned just beating Homer senseless. Now that you put that reference in there,
like the abs are still the same. Like
really, that's the best you can do.
Stupid deadly Flanders.
Amazing.
Oh, good one. Good one. So, see, we found some joy.
We did.
And you should find some joy too, and check this comic out. We didn't really talk that much about the art, but Nick, you did, and then Mike, you brought back the spirit of Arby and talked about the colors, and we miss you, Arby. Come back and visit us sometime.
Special guest.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure,
I dug the art. It had kind of this scratchy indie quality to it, and it wasn't quite what I would have expected for this book. But no, it totally worked. Like I said, the art is very much in sync with the writing, and that's a credit to both creators. So Falcon and Winter Soldier #1 of 5. Check it out. It's I don't think it's going to be anybody's pick of the week, but you can do a heck of a lot worse too.
You really could.
Yeah, and there's nothing. I think if I can damn it with faint praise, I think the biggest flaw is that it's just not more than it is. But that's not necessarily to say that what it is bad, if that makes sense.
That's great.
So, So, okay, cool. Well, let's move on to book #2. Oh, there's Mike. I thought Mike fell out of his chair for a second. We're gonna go in with Justice League Dark #20 from DC. Brand new story, brand new creative team. We're bringing aboard new writer Ram V. Co-authoring with James Tynion IV, art by Kyle Hotz, and colors by FCO Placencia. So, if you've been following this book, we're getting a little bit of a break from the Witching War and the Upside Down Man and all that good stuff, and we've got killer fungi now. It's a lot cooler than it sounds, but basically, so what's happened is with the destruction of the Parliament of Trees in the Witching War crossover between Justice League Dark and Wonder Woman last year, all of the various life parliaments, and that's incidentally the name of the story is the Parliaments of Life, are completely out of whack. So you've got the red, which is where Animal Man comes in. You've got the rot, callback to Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing run. Of course, you've got the green, which is Swamp Thing territory, and he's still absent. And then you've got a couple others in there too. And they're basically just out of whack, out of balance. They're going to war with each other. The natural world is out of order now. And it's up to the Justice League Dark and Animal Man, who I really hope sticks around beyond this arc, because I love Buddy Baker. And it's up to them to save the day. So, into the fray jumps our hot new creative team. Mr. Mike, what say you?
What say me? So I'm ashamed to almost say that I dropped this book about issue 5, issue 6.
Oh, you should be ashamed.
Yeah, I should. I'm sorry. I actually got my resume in for another podcast after this. This is going to be my last one that I do.
Nope. You shouldn't be that ashamed.
No, but in all seriousness, when we were going to do this book, I was like, look, might as well pick it up from here. And man, let me tell you, the stuff that I have read past and picked up from here, Kyle Hotz has really done a remarkable job on the art on this book, and just with the art on this book, it just kind of levitates what I've missed on here, and kind of had to kind of catch up with Constantine's, with where Drew's down in the basement, and kind of on the with the Zatanna, with Constantine and Zatanna, just with the whole Parliaments of Life storyline that I've had to kind of catch up on, which has really opened up this story into just some really great, what's the word I'm looking for? That I don't know either way, but just with the mutated zombies line and stuff like that, and just moving on, and just with the overall story of them kind of catching up, and what has Diana done. Yeah, she struck this deal with, but what have they done to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, Nick.
You're really struggling, buddy.
I'm going to pass it off to Nick here real quick, because I'm kind of like on my words.
Yeah, Nick, you loved this comic, man.
Yeah, for me, I love this, but my thing is I like with the Dr. Fate panel and the Mordru and stuff. It's kind of like, what do the words I'm kind of like stepping on, but I'm going to pass this off to Nick real quick, just to kind of catch my words up real quick. And
this book is really it spun out of you kind of had the Justice League and Wonder Woman spin out of Witching Hour, so that kicks off this book, and we've had 19 issues now of the Hecate versus Wonder Woman's deal. You've got that, which goes into the Witching War, and then, like Matt said, you've got the destruction of the Parliament of Trees. But what that did was set off just chaos, and I think that just like reigns through a lot of the different realms and realities that we see. And honestly, I haven't seen this level of storytelling since Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. This reminds me a lot of the emotional spectrum that really blew up after Jeff Johns took the reins of it. You got Rebirth happening, and what willpower and what fear does explodes into an emotional spectrum. And in this, you kind of get to explore not just the Parliament of Trees and the impact on the green, but a much larger spectrum and what that means for both Magic and the Justice League Dark. And really, I don't think you could have pulled in a better writer than Ram V for this. I'm a huge fan of theirs. Going back from These Savage Shores, Graffiti's Wall is just hugely acclaimed comics writing. It's fundamental reading. And I think finally seeing Ram V pull into maybe a bit more of a popular DC title like this that still fits that niche of horror, but within a group dynamic. So he gets to play with a lot of these different characters and these different plot lines. And goodness, it's amazing. I put this book down and I was like, how do I not rate this a 10 out of 10? I mean, it's just so hard not to. And ultimately, I had to knock it a little bit from the cover because I really just wasn't feeling like it captured the same mood and atmosphere of the book or the interior pages. I thought that it was a bit too striking in its differences.
It's kind of more straightforward superhero-y.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if it would have played more into the horror elements, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more, but that was really the only thing I can dock it on. And if that's the issue with it, I mean, come on. Like, this is, like, I think this is some of the best Justice League Dark work I've ever read. And I think it's going to be something that will hold up. You know, if you want to read Justice League Dark, this is where you go. And I think this is just more of that. I think, you know, everything from, like I said, Animal Man to Abigail, like, we get to follow up on that with Swamp Thing. There's a lot of different pieces building the conflict with Constantine and Zatanna. I think there's so much happening. I thought Ram V would pick up more with Dr. Fate. I was surprised to see not kind of this overt influence of Dr. Fate because I thought that trajectory was happening. But this really took a turn that I didn't see coming, and I was so excited for. The horror influences are amazing. The fungus exploding and just like, disgusting. And then that tease that you've got with the Floronic Man and Woodrow. This is some good stuff. Like, I can't be more excited for Justice League Dark right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm personally not familiar with Ram V as a writer, so I really didn't know what to expect going in. I actually didn't know, shame on me, that James Tynion the fourth was still going to be on the book in some capacity. So do you guys know, is he just kind of helping get this arc off the ground?
I feel like taking over full time, or I haven't looked exactly at the solicitations, but it feels like there's a transition happening where V is set to take over things, and it seems like Tynion the Fourth is maybe doing more of like a producer role and kind of overlooking the storyline and the narrative.
And I mean, that's cool because there's a lot of dangling plot threads that he left. And so he needs to be there to kind of shepherd those a little bit.
It's true.
And I would say that Ram V isn't up for the job because, I mean, just judging from this issue, he clearly is. But I'm glad, you know, this book, on the one level, it builds off of elements that came before, but it's not dependent upon having read them. Like, as much as I have loved Justice League Dark, and I mean really loved, it's been one of the most quietly awesome books that DC has put out in the last year and a half. You know, it was one mega arc where each story, 5 or 6 issues, however long it was merely the next chapter in that arc. And that it can get, you know, it can wear you down after a while, you know, because you have to commit so much story detail to memory. And there's nothing wrong with long form storytelling. I'm a huge champion of long form storytelling, but taking a break and saying, okay, you know, here's something a little more straightforward that you can just dig into is good. It's a good breath of fresh air. It's a smart decision to help new readers jump back in, or maybe lapsed readers return, because you do want to have good jumping on points. And the deeper that, you know, writer X gets into their long form story without any natural breaks to support those new readers coming on, I think the more chance you stand of losing readers over time. And I mean, I'll be honest, and I don't mean this in a shade throwing way, but I think that's something that we saw with the sales steadily dropping off with Tom King's Batman run. You know, it's incredibly self-referential. And, you know, if you tried to jump into that book at issue 60, you'd probably be pretty lost because it didn't naturally have those jumping on points that can help a new reader jump in. So from that perspective, this issue did very, very well. The execution, like overall, from a storytelling standpoint, outstanding. That moment you were talking about, Nick, where the dude stands up, the big splash page where the dude stands up and the spores burst forth from him. So gross, but so compelling visually. Like, it's just a striking image.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point in the story, it's important too. We don't really know what's happening yet, other than bizarre fungus crap is enveloping people and turning them into ravenous zombies with mushrooms growing on them and lichen. And so, yeah, that's just a really strong horror moment. And like you were saying, there's few artists better suited for such a book than Kyle Hotz. I've always kind of seen Hotz as the heir apparent to Kelly Jones in a lot of ways.
Ooh, very
he brings that really creepy, gross horror vibe with like the right amount of detail on the wrong things, so to speak. The more grotesque things, and then just a little bit of a cartooniness to it as well, like especially in the faces, and these two seemingly disparate things play off each other really well. And so this book just looked great to complement the story. I mean, if I had to knock it for anything, it's that we didn't see more Detective Chimp. But I could knock any comic in existence for not having more Detective Chimp. So it's a very relative thing.
Like Man-Bat is getting the spinoff. I'm so excited, but Detective Chimp.
Wait a second.
Totally.
How are you? Wait. How are you more excited that Man-Bat is getting a spinoff more than Detective Chimp? I mean,
no, I want a Detective Chimp spinoff. I thought that was the natural point of jumping on. But I get it.
You can tie Man-Bat into Batman.
Yeah.
You're naturally tapping that reader base.
And that's how they put it. It was him on the bat signal. So that's right in line with it.
Yeah. But excuse me, losing my voice a little bit tonight. Mike, did you come back to us? Are you ready?
No, I think one of my favorite parts of Justice League Dark was just the Constantine and Zatanna part where Woodrue and they were just kind of just coming apart with the coming to what's the word I'm looking for? Coming to the
Ironic Man.
Yeah, exactly. But
Party.
No, right. But, no,
I'm just gonna throw things out now.
just throw it out there. But no,
I got your back.
What I thought was really good was with the Fly coming in.
Yes.
To Woodrue.
Right.
And then at the end, and then you're going, oh, wait a second, I get what they're gonna do, right? And so this is what really kind of drew me in back to Justice League Dark, and then what they're gonna do, and it just kind of drew you into kind of kind of building up Zatanna into the Constantine and stuff like that, and it's really good. It really builds on to what a new story, a new arc, and it kind of builds on to kind of bringing that into a new readership in a sense too. But it's good.
No, I get that, and I mean, I think it's good that you get that interplay between Zatanna and Constantine because there's history there, recent history there.
Exactly.
You know, Constantine, if you, well, recent and not, but I mean, Constantine is responsible for the death of Zatanna's father, Zatara, way back in Alan Moore's classic Swamp Thing number 50. So there's always going to be that tension there. You know, I think, and I'm so, it's worth mentioning too, just how well Constantine works in this book, because I can think back to them reintroducing John Constantine into the DCU at the end of Brightest Day, and then, you know, subsequently more so in New 52, and it was just like heresy, you know, because they also canceled the long-standing Vertigo version of the book, this book, Hellblazer, right? And so we were just like, yo, hey, wait a minute, what's this watered-down PG-13 crap going on? And then it was weird because DC just sort of slow walked back to having an R-rated Constantine that we all know and love. But what they finally learned is you can do both, and that's okay. That's okay. Look, I love Legends of Tomorrow, and that is unmistakably a PG-13 John Constantine on that show, but it's still unmistakably John Constantine, and that's the case here as well. So, you know, he doesn't play well with others. He's up to tricks. You never quite know what his motives are, other than the end result will be something good. But you know, just it's good to see him here amongst these characters interacting, because John Constantine did start as a member of the DCU, and a lot of people tend to forget that. So kudos to them. Kudos to the creative team. Ram V, welcome aboard. I'm just, you know what? I'm feeling salty in a good way. I'm feeling my oats. Ram V, if you ever want to come on this show and chat with us a little bit, dude, we'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, Justice League Dark number 20, just absolutely great jumping on point, very well executed comic, and you could not do much better this week. Yeah. So with that, I think we're wrapping it up on reviews, and it's time for our last segment. So Nick, what have you been reading? What are you looking forward to?
Ooh, let's see here. I've actually still been reading Hack Slash. I'm still diving into all of that from 10 series. I mean, there's 6 omnibuses, so there's just a lot to sort through.
That is a lot. I had no idea that much Hack Slash existed.
Yeah, and they're all, you know, it's not like a huge ongoing narrative, but they all play on each other, so it is important to kind of, you know, go with Cassie Hack on this journey and see where these characters go. So I've really enjoyed that. I've also been reading a lot of Zenescope lately. I signed up for the VIP program, so when I buy things off their website, I get points, and then you eventually just get free stuff shipped to you, like comics and trades and all that. I'm buying them anyway, and also it led to a sale that they send your email. Ran all of their Grimm Fairy Tale books for $5. So what I'm looking forward to is this shipment, a massive shipment of Grimm Fairy Tale volumes coming to my doorstep so that I can read all of them. And I think I got like a dozen volumes because I already had a couple of them, but I think there's 15 total in the first run that deals with Sela Mathers. And then the new volume, which started in 2016, takes up with her daughter, Sky Mathers, who takes over the Guardian of the Nexus. And then that's kind of the run that I've been following. So I'm going back and doing my history reading with this, and I'm really excited for that.
Very cool. Well, Mike, what have you been reading? What are you looking forward to?
Reading, kind of going on the artist ledge here with Sal Velluto, and started with his Bloodshot stuff back in like 96, 97. Awesome. I just found myself kind of reading it, just kind of like, oh, I haven't read this in a while, and realizing like, God, it's pretty good. So it led me to his Black Panther stuff, which in a sense, he was doing the art for the Christopher Priest stuff when they were doing the Black Panther. I believe it was version 2. I could be wrong, but that's what I've been kind of reading, is just some really just digging into some Sal Voluto stuff. It started with the Bloodshot, leading with the Black Panther stuff, and we'll just see what's going on with that. But as far as what I'm looking forward to, is, and we actually talked about this on the show a couple of times, is the King of Nowhere from Boom. And this guy wakes up in the outskirts of the town, named from nowhere, right? Because the book itself is titled The King of Nowhere, but he wakes up in the town and the outskirts of nowhere, kind of not really knowing what's going on and kind of disoriented. But when he does realize what's going on, that's when everything from his past kind of comes crashing down on him. So I'm really looking forward to this from Boom. And
who's the creative team, Mike?
What's that?
Who's the creative team? It sounds interesting.
That I'm not sure of, and I'm
it's from Boom, so you can expect some quality.
Yeah, I really kind of am just kind of embalming in myself of not knowing the creative team. We talked about it on the show before. It's definitely on the website, King of Nowhere from Boom Studios. Definitely something that I'm interested in, and
it's
something
from
that
Maxwell Prince. It's got Tyler Jenkins on art. It's been a really acclaimed series, and I think Boom's done really well pulling all of those new series kind of out of their hat. So we're looking a lot more at Boom lately. And
Boom's good in general at just cultivating talent. So
it's true, yeah.
I think that's their biggest strength, to be perfectly honest with you. As for me, I have been reading the mostly forgotten Dan Jurgens and Steve Epting run of Aquaman from about the year 2000. They had kind of a tough test to take that book over at the time, because Peter David had left about a year and a half prior in a huff, and subsequently Eric Larson took over writing it, and he brought a very Eric Larson feel to it that just didn't really resonate with fans very well. So it was up to Jurgens and Epting to sort of right the ship. And it's a really criminally underappreciated run. It's only about 12 issues or so, 12 or 13 issues before that volume ended. But yeah, it's excellently written. If you like these creators, and you should definitely check this run out. Pretty cheap back issues, to be perfectly fair. So yeah, definitely. And it's Epting before he truly became Epting. I mean, it's still good, but he wasn't the A-list artist that we know and love today. So I love finding older diamonds in the rough like that of favorite artists before they truly found themselves. As for what I'm looking forward to, well, I've got a two-way tie. Flash number 750 is next week. We've been a little up and down on Josh Williams' run, with good reason on this show. It's been a while since we've talked Flash, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's been really solid for the last 6 months or so. And it's number 750. It's a return to classic legacy numbering. You can't ask for much more than that. There's a slew of covers, just like DC's done with their other major anniversary issues. So I'm excited for that. And then on the other side of things, I'm really excited for Strange Adventures number 1, courtesy of Mr. Tom King, a man that we know quite well on this show and we've talked about a few times. I feel that this series is going to be his redemption, because he works better with a tighter focus. This is a 12-issue maxi series. If you've ever read Omega Men or Sheriff of Babylon or The Vision, these are the books that are just top-notch work of his, and because he's got a limited set of issues to work with. So I feel like after kind of flaming out at the 82 issues of Batman that he did, this is what's going to bring him back to form and kind of gain him some positive cred in a lot of fans' minds again, and remind him that he's not just the guy that dumped Heroes in Crisis on us. Nick, you had something to add to that?
I totally forgot that we've also got Strange Academy #1 dropping next week.
Oh, that's right. That looks
I'm
good.
so ready for that. I was so mad when
really promising.
Yeah,
and I say that I don't like Humberto Ramos' art.
Oh, now I'm ready.
His art looks really good. So I mean, cool.
Yeah, I was so mad when
you're on the right book.
Yeah, like
so
Deadpool ended, and I was so furious. But then this happened, and I'm here for it.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Deadpool ended, and I was like, what? We just got the 3rd issue.
No, Deadpool just ended with issue 12, and I was like, why is it ending so early? And then this happened. So I was like, I see what's going on.
Gotcha. Okay. Silly Marvel and their renumbering. So, join us next week for episode 69, where we dump on Marvel's renumbering for an hour and a half. No, probably not really. But we do have some really cool news coming up. Do we share with the kids at home?
We have cool stuff coming.
I think we should give some folks a little bit of peek behind the curtain. Next week, we have our very first pro guest on the Comic Watchers show. We're going to be talking to Zack Kaplan, author of Port of Earth. And he's got a new one coming out from Aftershock called Nick, Help Me Out.
Join the Future. And
Join the Future. And I just went blank on it. I feel terrible because Nick just actually conducted a really awesome review with Zack. It's up on the website right now, comic-watch.com. And then the week after that, we have something even bigger and even cooler coming down the pike. And we're not going to talk about it yet because it's a surprise. So, big things are happening. Our silly little podcast is blowing up, and that is thanks a lot to you guys listening to it and just really helping us out there and sharing the love. So thank you from the bottom of our own black hearts. And this has been the Comic Watchers Show, a part of comic-watch.com, pro news interviews written for fans by fans. Thank you so much. We will see you next week.